if I'm Christina Pushaw, I am peeing in my coffin thinking about Ron DeSantis having to go head to head with Chris Christie.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Next Level. I'm JVL here with my best friends, Sarah Longwell and Timothy Miller. We are coming at you live from Debate Week. Can you feel the excitement? I feel like we're at the beginning of a long forced march.
Like a Bataan
That's about
march?
the level of excitement I feel like. Something like that, yeah. Some terrible march where you're being forced to go through the desert with a bunch of people you don't like, and not you. I mean, our Republican candidates, and like that weird guy with the face. Are we gonna have to see him? Thank God he didn't make the debate stage. Perry Johnson.
Are you sad that your friend Will Hurd didn't make the debate stage? You've just been one of the biggest advocates of the Will Hurd campaign.
I was going to ask you guys about that. Does Will Hurd stay in? And if Will Hurd does stay in, does that mean he's not as serious as we all thought?
Who knows? Maybe lightning will strike in a bottle in the fall.
He'll stay in for a little bit.
Okay. He's not going to Iowa, right? He's not going to make it to Iowa.
It depends on how much cash he has. This is the thing, JVL. You do this Iowa stuff, and you're like, DeSantis is going to drop out. Like, it's a money game. People who have money are going to go all the way.
True. I don't know that DeSantis is going to have them. We'll see. We'll see how DeSantis does after the debate. So let's set the stage, and I will let you guys just go. First of all, I assume the debate is going to take place. I'm sure you guys have noted that Larry Elder has filed a lawsuit to prevent the debate from taking place because he says it has all been rigged and unfair. I guess in violation of some sacred debate law somewhere in Wisconsin. Does Wisconsin have debate law?
I'm not sure. Who knows, though? Larry could get a friendly judge. You know, now that Janet Protasewicz is in there in Wisconsin, though, probably not. Probably won't get as fair of a hearing.
Maybe he could send Sheriff Clark out there to shut that whole debate down and just say, we're going to shut this all down until we figure out what the hell's going on. Okay, so they're going up on stage on Wednesday night. It's going to be we had an 8-pack. Scott, DeSantis, Haley, Vivek, Christie, Pence, Burgum, and Asa. Asa snuck in under the wire. Good for you, buddy. Sarah, go. Tell me, what are the stakes? Are the stakes high? Are the stakes low? Who has the most to gain? Who has the most to lose? I want to hear all of your thoughts. Please download your brain for us.
The stakes are high for 4 people. 4. This many. 4.
Wow.
They're the most high for Ron DeSantis. Okay, hold on. I'm going to walk you through it. Most high for Ron DeSantis because JVL's like we're entering the last 2 weeks of the DeSantis campaign. Comes sort of true if this debate is just horrible for him. Like not you're overreaching on the he won't make it to Iowa, but you are correct in that he either revives himself with this or he dies after this. Like I guess he could maybe like comport himself modestly and stay the same. But it's kind of make or break for him. Highest stakes for him. Second highest.
Question: will he have to speak? Sarah, is he going to have to use his voice at this debate, or could he have a surrogate stand on who he would like Cyrano de Bergerac, where he could tell, maybe he could get James Earl Jones or somebody like that, and he could say the words, and James Earl Jones would in his ear, and James Earl Jones,
Florida is where woke goes to die.
It is possible that we will get nothing from DeSantis but the horrifying sound of his teeth grinding as he listens. Just like the nails on the chalkboard of his teeth grinding as all the other candidates attack him. Okay, but hold on. So stakes 2, highest for Vivek Ramaswamy. And here's why. We got a lot of Vivek curious people who are also DeSantis people. And so this is his moment. He either takes from DeSantis and becomes kind of the number 2 guy and has a big breakout moment, or all the Vivek curious people get a real good look at him and go, actually, forget that. That was like a mild flirtation and I'm over it. Third, Tim Scott, who I think absolutely does not have a majority pitch for Republican voters, but has a bit of a minority pitch. Again, he's the one most likely to take over I think, from DeSantis, if it's not Vivek, for like a solid 13%. Like, Tim Scott's due for I am now moving into third, slash maybe second eventually, and like have a play in Iowa. I don't know that I think Tim.
So
Scott's
the stakes
like
are medium. It's a medium stake. It's a medium rare stake for Tim Scott. I mean, the stakes can't be that high if he can't win. And so, I mean, the stakes are medium. No, high.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I mean, he's like the last bastion hope for the donor class and the normie Republican class. And so, like, to the extent that there's a revenge of the normies that could play for a while, I think Tim Scott is in.
So the stakes are high for the rich guys funding Tim Scott's campaign. The stakes are high for them.
Question for you here, Sarah.
Yeah.
Could Tim Scott do well at the debate by not getting involved in all this stuff? Like, could he just like step? Because nobody's going to attack Tim Scott. That would be a bad look. If I could just say for some of my white Republican candidate friends, could he just sort of like stay doing his Mr. Positive, jazz hands thing, and let Vivek and Ron D go after each other?
So Tim's saying no. Here's the thing. I think he can to get himself a gentlemanly 15% nationally. This is where I think that he could start taking from Pence, and this just brings me to my fourth person, which is Nikki Haley, because Nikki Haley was a great hope for many people. She's been living in the 3%, and either Nikki Haley's going to pop or she's not. This has got, like, for a bunch of them, right, who've been languishing and want to be the successor, those are the people that I think, like, Pence does not have a chance to do it. Asa does not have a chance to do it. I guess I could make a case for Chris Christie, who's having like just a thing in New Hampshire, very, very located in New Hampshire. He could be, but he's just up there to like go kamikaze on people. He's just like a living human napalm situation. So I don't know that I think there's stakes for Christie. I think he might come out of it with a lot of conversation, but I don't know about stakes. I think the other four have stakes.
Does Nikki have to go after Scott? I feel like that's kind of her play. She has to go after DeSantis and Scott and try to no.
You people, were you all awake during the 2012 and 2016 campaigns? The people that got bumps afterwards were not the Mr. Nice guys. They were not the people that went after the other people on stage. They were the people that did the best at performative lib owning. When Newt Gingrich shouted at the moderators and gave them the what for, that's when he went up and skyrocketed up. We saw this. I guess that was in 2012. Was there? Right? And I guess was there an exception? Ben Carson did kind of have a little moment. Maybe that's the best Tim Scott analogy, not race based, but I don't remember him yelling at anybody. He was always a pretty calm setting. So maybe that's the best argument for that. But he.
And Herman Cain,
not exactly.
Same thing, right?
Herman Cain's situation was a little bit different. But generally, the people that had positive momentum coming out of debates, there was a big political article on this week, in Republican debates, were people that had big moments demonstrating, I can take out Obama, I can take out the media, I can take out Biden. The Democratic debates were more, Liz Warren had the big debate when she took out Mike Bloomberg. Right? That was more of a cross-stage thing. I don't see like Nikki and Tim Scott getting into a little slap fight. I don't know that really helps either of them. Calling somebody out on the stage for getting cucked, that might help. That might go over. So I don't know. I think that if I was, I disagree with Sarah. I think that there's no stakes for Tim Scott and Nikki Haley because I don't understand what's happening in their campaign. They're not running for president. So if someone told me what their objective was, maybe I would say that there were stakes, but I have to understand the objective of their campaign. I don't understand the objective of either of their campaigns. Are they? They really want to be Donald Trump's vice president? I don't think Nikki Haley wants to be.
Tim Scott does.
Tim Scott sure does.
Tim Scott sure does.
I think Nikki Haley. So here's the thing. I think Nikki Haley wanted to be DeSantis as vice president.
Okay. So
yes.
So I don't know the point of her campaign. So I don't know what the stakes are. I guess, like I said, the rich people giving Tim Scott money, they have some stakes because it's they're gonna watch their money burn live on TV. That's not really that fun.
Do they know that Tim Scott is running for VP?
I don't know. This is what I'm saying. I don't know. Doesn't that undermine the whole point?
Right,
Isn't the whole point of the rich donors who are normies who are funding Tim Scott? Don't they not like Donald Trump? Like, aren't they funding him ostensibly because they want somebody else besides Donald Trump? So why are they funding his effort to be Donald Trump's vice president and get hung by the MAGA people? I genuinely don't understand.
Because they don't know. They don't know. No, they don't know. They don't know what's going on with voters, and they also don't know that Tim Scott will happily be Donald Trump's vice president the second he locks up the nomination.
They can't be that stupid. Capitalism can't be that inefficient.
I think capitalism can be that inefficient. I think that they're that stupid. Again, I don't know. So I don't think they have any stakes, really, meaningfully. And so I would have just made that list too. I think Ron DeSantis and Vivek are the people for whom they have stakes. And I think there's a decent chance that DeSantis goes after Vivek the fake, or whatever that memo said, and just gets mowed down. I think that there's a non-zero chance that happens. I guess it'll be tonight. We're taping this Tuesday afternoon on Wednesday night. And so, who else? I guess for Donald Trump, there may be some stakes, but I don't know what.
Well, can I just maybe push back on Tim a little bit, may I? And the reason, your point about what was a breakout moment in previous debates, I think neglects the fact that, that person, the person who owns the libs the fiercest, won't be in this debate. And so, we already have a front runner, an extremely dominant front runner. And the reason that I include Nikki and Tim Scott is that what we have is a jockeying for second or third. We have a jockeying for movement. We have a jockeying for any kind of dynamic shift that gives people a narrative that changes from what it currently is, which is that it is Donald Trump in a two-man race with Ron DeSantis. Now, Ron DeSantis is flailing. This debate matters. If he flails more, that means somebody else has an opportunity to become the two-man person. And I don't really think Nikki Haley is exactly in that position. I think my stakes for Nikki Haley is that I think that a Will Hurd is just wants people to know his name for future. I think that Nikki Haley could end up getting out because she doesn't want it to be Donald Trump, and she does want to be part of a consolidation, maybe around Tim Scott. I don't know that I think she attacks him. I could be wrong about that, but that would be my instinct. And so I think the stakes for her are, if she gets nothing out of this, I don't know that she's long for this race.
Can I offer an opinion you're not supposed to give on a political podcast where you're trying to engage the audience? I think it's possible that this debate doesn't matter at all. Is literally completely meaningless. With the exception, I guess DeSantis on the margins.
Except for DeSantis' money.
So if DeSantis is really good or really bad, it kind of matters. But if DeSantis is not really good or really bad, I think this debate is completely meaningless. I went back and looked. I was the communications director for one of the candidates on the last time that we had a Republican debate without Trump, and that Iowa debate that he skipped when he pretended he was doing the veterans fundraiser and he was going to give the money to veterans and he never did. Good person that they nominated there. Maybe that should have been a warning sign. I don't know who listens to us, but I went back and I read the articles about that debate, because I was like, what happened at that debate? I don't remember. And then it refreshed my memory. It was the one where Ted Cruz kind of starts off by saying, "You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid. Okay, now that that's out of the way, we don't have to pretend like Donald Trump's here anymore." And that was kind of, it was cheap, dorky, kind of funny. And that was literally the only thing I remembered. I went through every other highlight, nothing else. Even the Jeb parts, I was like, I guess I remember Jeb having a back and forth with Marco, but the substance of it was kind of meaningless. It was boring. It was kind of boring without Trump there. And I think it might be kind of boring tomorrow, or kind of might be boring tonight. And so I think that's where I'm at. I think there's a chance it's completely meaningless.
So let me push back on that too, and here's why. That debate
even
was,
deeper, sixth maybe. Yeah.
So right, okay.
Yeah.
So there've been a ton of debates at this point. This debate is important and has stakes because it's the first one. It is going to set the tone for whatever the fall political season is going to look like. Now, where I agree with you is that tone might be, none of these clowns are going to get within spitting distance of Trump because they're all pathetic. Like, that may very well be. But we are going to learn a lot, I think, about who people are, how they're setting up their strategies. You know, DeSantis has rebooted his reboot and then rebooted that. And so, you know, if we're going to see something from DeSantis that is different, it would be in this debate. And so anyway, I think that, and we're also going to see Trump getting booked the day after the debate.
Surrendering.
And so another thing we'll know is that if Trump's surrendering, look at the cheese-eating surrender monkey he is. Isn't that a Simpsons reference for you,
He
JBL?
chuckled soft. It was a soft chuckle.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I did what you did during Barbie.
I know. I'm sorry about that. Hey, but here's the thing. So Trump surrenders, and does that own the news cycle, the post-debate news cycle? And if it does, we learn that too, right? There's literally nothing these guys can say or do that Trump won't overshadow with his legal troubles, which I think also, that would be my prediction that that's what happens, but that is...
Here's the other thing, and I would love to be wrong about this, but I expect the first debate, you're right about that there's something to be said for it's the first time we get to see everybody and test everybody. But conventional politicians, conventional consultants, you know, what is your mindset going in there? It's a do no harm. Like, let's go in there. We're not going to go crazy on Trump on debate one. There are going to be a lot of these.
Marathon,
all of that logic is totally wrong. But I could see everybody except Chris Christie thinking that is the right play, you know, and maybe I'll throw one little hit at Vivek or one, you know, I'll go after Biden. I'll go after Biden hard, but I'm not going to do anything when the reality is one of these guys needs to be Haymakerville. You know, and if I'm Ron DeSantis' comms director, I'm like, you need to go up there and your first answer needs to be, I just want to get this out of the way. I am not a puppet of those donors and the establishment that's giving me money. I'm the governor of Florida. I'm the damn governor.
Jesus Christ, not some weird set
of
guys with
chair.
6 arms.
You know, and I would immediately try to start separating myself from the narrative, but I just don't. I would be surprised if that happens.
So let me posit this to you. My attempt at synthesizing your viewpoints. The extent to which this debate matters is at 2 different meta levels. The first being the money supply for Ron DeSantis, which matters because if it is turned off, it reshapes the rest of the field. And the second being the question of whether or not if the first debate without Trump winds up being meaningless, then it means that Trump ain't going to go to any of them. And this starts looking more and more like a coronation. Fair?
Yeah.
Fair.
Look at that.
It's already looking
bringing
like
people together. Yeah. It's very... I have 2 polls. 2 polls I want to talk about. I want to talk about
can I ask you guys one thing? You know, because we've had a running Chris Christie disagreement around here. What do you think from Chris Christie? Because I kind of expect Chris Christie to go Tony Montana on everybody on that stage and actually demonstrate the point that I've been making from day one, which is it might feel nice to have him up there because he says some mean things about Donald Trump, but like towards the actual goal of helping somebody else become the nominee, maybe he's harming it. And I think that there's a decent chance that Chris Christie dominates the debate. I think there's a decent chance Chris Christie dominates the debate. He's a pure alpha. Meanwhile, he has a 28% favorable rating in the Iowa caucus poll, right? So Christie takes out DeSantis, makes him look like a bitch. Takes out Vivek, makes him look like a fake. You know, maybe even throws, some strays at Nikki Haley or Doug Burgum or something. And, come out of the debate and all the mainstream media types were like, Chris Christie! And Chris Christie's poll numbers go up to 20 in New Hampshire. And Ron DeSantis's go down to 9 or 8. And then it's like, great, Chris Christie killed everybody else in the primary again. just like he did to Marco last time. And even though we think it's nice to have him around, like actually 3-dimensionally chess, it might not be nice to have him there. Do you think that's possible?
Sarah, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
You haven't gotten to talk as much, JVL, so why don't you do it? But I have a strong...
No, believe me, I plan on making it up. My view is, if that is the case and Chris Christie is able to do it, then it will not represent any sort of net subtraction, because it means that none of these guys could have done it on their own anyway. Right? I mean, I'm sorry. If Ron DeSantis can't contend with Chris Christie, then he is never going to be able to contend with Donald Trump. True?
Maybe.
Yeah. Let me just add to that. I think it's just like in the memo that we all saw from DeSantis, right? He's supposed to, the Chris Christie attacks that everybody knows are coming, give DeSantis an opportunity for someone to fight with, right? He needs a foil because DeSantis is all about grimacing and getting all wound up too. So it is, I think JVL's right. Like, it's on DeSantis to handle himself in a way, and I think Christie gives him that opportunity. The other thing I would say for Chris Christie is to your point, I think you could be right, because he could light up everybody on the stage. Or he could do what he's done for much of his time in the press, which is he could turn every question into a let's shit on Trump. And then what he pushes back on everybody else is, why don't you guys do this? Are you running a race against him? This is insane. We got to fight for this party. Like, I could actually see him presenting more of a challenge than just like eviscerating them each.
I gotta tell you, if I'm Christina Pushaw, I am peeing in my coffin thinking about Ron DeSantis having to go head to head with Chris Christie. That's all I'm saying. I mean, maybe that's true, but that's not what I'm not excited about that. I'm dry heaving.
I don't think she can cry anymore. I'm not sure her face.
I've dry heaved before a debate with one of my candidates, and that I would probably.
She can't spare the moisture. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
That was important, though. I didn't want to miss out on the big fella.
That's fine. I want to do the short poll first and the Seltzer poll second, because I want to spend some time on the Seltzer poll. Sarah, the CBS poll that came out Sunday, asking voters who they trust, Republican voters, who they trust most in their information, and showing Trump far above not media, but even conservative media, far above their religious leaders, far above their friends and family. Did that poll inform, or is it at all in tension or dialogue with the Republican Triangle of Doom? Because that's what I thought. When I looked at that, I thought this poll suggests more cult than Triangle of Doom. But maybe not. I don't know. I haven't really thought deeply about it, but I had wanted to talk with you about it.
That's interesting, and whether you think it contradicts Triangle of Doom. I don't think it does. I only think that what it means is that given you're talking to Republican primary voters and just asking them each one of those things. And so a bunch of these people are like secular, not Christian, right? So like, they're not saying they're pastor, but they still trust Trump. A bunch of them are saying, whatever, people like me. Well, they don't trust all their friends on social media, but they trust Trump. Like, I guess I sort of thought that what it captured more than anything is actually something different entirely, which is, how do you beat Trump even if somebody were to get a hold of sort of right-wing media, and even if somebody were to, have there is like I often talk about the collective action problem as one of the things that allows Trump to maintain his hold. I would maybe say it's a little bit in tension with that slightly, because even if a whole bunch of other people were saying Trump is bad, that would just be cause for them to dismiss those other people. Now, I also think, as a counterfactual, everybody speaking out against Trump at once has never been tried. And so we don't know whether or not that might make some actual difference.
Tried for 48 corrections. Tried for 36 hours on the afternoon of January 6th.
Did you
the morning of January?
Do you have the poll in front of you?
Do
you have the CBS in front of you, JVL? Because the conservative media number was also pretty high. It was alarmingly high, given that I'm not sure exactly what these people define as conservative media, but I think that I assume some of them are talking about Steve Bannon's War Room podcast and OAN and Right Side Broadcasting News, and some of them are probably just talking about Fox, but very high ratings. But Trump's ratings higher than the conservative media ratings. The thing about that poll, and we can do the cult joke, and it is a fucking cult, but the thing that it really just continues to parallel is that there's 3/4 of the party that just likes him, is for him, is with him, is Trump, right?
Yeah,
and so
that's right.
No matter how you ask the question, you can come at it from a bunch of different angles. Like, you're going to get 70 to 80% saying, sign me up for the Trump stakes. Oh, what is it? Okay, it was 73 and then 65 or something.
So here's the question is, do you feel what they tell you is true? Trump, 71% say yes. Friends and family, 63% say yes. Conservative media figures, 56%. That's a fair. I mean, that's a not inconsiderable drop. And then religious leaders down to 42%. Those are not insignificant differentials.
Yeah.
And especially the conservative media figure thing, that to me is that it's only at 56%. That's not like media. That's not, do you trust the news, which could be interpreted in any different ways. This is specifically conservative media figure.
It would have been more interesting if it was like Trump, Tucker, Fox, give us a little bit more detail. But still, I have a before we get to Seltzer, I have a third poll I'd like to share. Did you guys happen to see? I moved down to Louisiana. I don't know if you knew this. So this poll caught my interest. Have you seen the Nexstar Media? It's a little local group's poll of the Louisiana Republican primary. Anybody caught that? Okay, I'm happy to be breaking news for you here. I'm going to go in alphabetical order. Doug Burgum, 0. Chris Christie, 1. All right. Nice job. Ron DeSantis, 10. Nikki Haley, 0. Mike Pence, 2. Vivek Ramaswamy, 1. Tim Scott, 1. Donald J. Trump, 75. 75. He's winning by 65 points in the Louisiana primary. Now, I'm thinking about going down to the GOP convention. They haven't given me a media pass yet, but I want to kind of see that with my own eyes. Just one poll. But I don't know. This kind of informs my earlier comments about the stakes of the undercard. Where for Louisiana primary voters, only 25% of them have their man or woman on the stage. And not even that, less than that actually. 25% of them are either undecided or have their man or woman on the stage. Not great.
I mean, it's still early. Anything can happen. There's a lot of time left. These early polls are meaningless, right? These are all the things we say. Okay, moving on. We do have another poll, the Iowa poll, the famous Seltzer poll from the Des Moines Register, and it is out, and it is superficially, I think, pretty good for the rest of the field. We have Trump at 42, Old Puddin' Fingers at 19, Tim Scott at 9. Sarah, would you like to give us the optimistic case from the Seltzer poll?
Yeah, just that Iowa is a little different from everywhere else. The voters are playing hand-to-hand combat. They meet most of these candidates. I think one of the other data points from that poll is how much people were open, right? They had multiple people they were interested in, a lot of curiosity about people beyond Trump. I think that the only path is through Iowa. If somebody is able to come in close second or beat Trump in Iowa, that is literally the only little tiny path to defeating him. Like, you have to do it that way. And the fact that he's polling worse there than everybody else is nice. That being said, that's like me doing my best to shine it up.
So while the top line numbers are pretty good for everybody else, once you dig into the actual data a little deeper, it gets very bad. First of all, Seltzer notes that this is the largest lead for any Republican in the history of her poll. No Republican candidate has ever been this far ahead.
Really? That's
yes.
in there? I missed that fact. That's
Trump's
not
ceiling.
George W.?
Trump's ceiling is the highest of any of the candidates. His people who are his first and second choice, he's at 52%. People who are actively considering him are at 63%. Trump's favorability is the highest it has ever been in the history of the Iowa poll while he was running on it. He is much more popular now than he was before, which is like before Access Hollywood and stuff. Think about that. He is more popular now as a twice
element to that.
Fair enough. But here is the number which I think is scariest for the rest of the field. They asked the people, they asked Cletus what he was most looking forward to. And he said that the percentage of good and great Iowans who said that they really want somebody who can beat Joe Biden was 29%. Percent of people who want somebody who really reflects their views, 65%. These people just want to own the libs. That's a bad number, right? Because
there was a really good Shane Goldmacher article in the New York Times about this. Part of this reason is they think Joe Biden's riddled with dementia.
It is
so
true.
Why would they care?
So this is, I look at these numbers and I just think, no way, man. Like, how are you guys going to beat him? His floor is higher than everybody else's. His ceiling is higher than everybody else's. People don't care really about winning and beating Biden or not. They like him more than they ever have before. And even within the context of this year, his numbers are going up relative to where they were. So directionally, he's getting stronger and not weaker because of the indictments. So I look at all that and I just think, I'm sorry, how is this supposed to happen? And, the truth is, we are not that far away. We're, 16 weeks away from Iowa? That's not that long.
Yeah, that's not 16 weeks. That's not, because it's...
No?
No,
it's
I
January
was
15th,
in...
20 weeks.
January.
Yeah. All right, 20 weeks. I mean, the answer is, we're actually not that far.
No, we're 4 months out. That's right. Here's the only way it happens. It's not an optimistic thing. It's not exactly fantasy, but it's something approaching fantasy, which is there has to be like a complete and total collapse. Like something would have to happen, some kind of exogenous event. Like I'm not sure. And this is where we come back to the debates thing. Like you need a wholesale dynamic shift, not a chipping away slowly. Like there's not a way where like it has a lot of time to play out and, slowly the retail politics of Ron DeSantis is just so impressive that he's able to start gaining momentum. And that little bit of momentum builds on itself and he slowly overtakes Trump. Like it takes a total collapse of Trump. And it takes, I had this conversation 1,000 times with people. They're like, well, couldn't XYZ happen to Trump? And I'm like, maybe. Who beats him?
Yeah.
And nobody really has it. You can't beat something with nothing. This is like how I start all my answers. And the question is who's giving us something?
We have a piece up by... Yeah, thank you. Tim, this is a... Go ahead. You do it.
Christian Rambourg's piece in the Bulwark today, Tuesday, is so good.
Go to thebulwark.com. Ding, ding, ding.
Sign up for the email list. And what the point that he makes is, even if what you just laid out just happened, Sarah, right? Let's say that DeSantis is awesome at the debate. And let's say that DeSantis takes out Chris Christie and shows, the real pudding fingers, battle of the pudding fingers, just crushes him. And then let's say that he then uses that momentum, to continue to gradually build in the polls. And he gets to Iowa and he ekes out Donald Trump by a couple points in the caucus. And then Trump wins New Hampshire, and DeSantis gets endorsed by Nikki and Tim Scott, and he ekes out Trump again in South Carolina. And then it's Super Tuesday, and it's kind of split, and Trump wins Louisiana, where he's winning by 65 points, and it's a delegate fight, and Trump's got court dates, and DeSantis picks up a little bit of momentum. What is Donald Trump going to do then exactly? What's the end game here? Like, is the end game that Donald Trump gives a gracious speech in Milwaukee, passing the crown to Ron DeSantis? Have anybody even thought past what the next step would be?
I don't think so.
So this is the key point, and this is why, again, people in the Republican Party do not understand that they're the hostages. I don't think, as Christian writes, it isn't enough to beat Trump. Whoever the Republican victor would be has to beat Trump and get Trump to concede, because without Trump conceding, then the party is lost, right? Everything falls apart because maybe Trump goes kamikaze or something else. Meanwhile, from Trump's perspective, he knows that no matter how much they hate him, all the rest of these MFers are going to absolutely concede and wind up endorsing him, right? With honorable exceptions of Asa Hutchinson and maybe Chris Christie and maybe even Will Hurd, depending on the day of the week. And so that asymmetry where, he doesn't give a crap about the future of the party and the health of the party, and he knows that they will all come on side with him. As Tim and Christian say, like, what's the end? How are you supposed to not only beat Trump, but get Trump to concede to you? And I just don't see that as possible. Agree or disagree? I guess this is a real question. Do you think that Christian is right that the concession is a necessary part of a necessary condition for beating Trump and having it be a real victory?
No. I think it is true that Trump will not concede. But I think that, it will proceed the way that the general election proceeded, with Trump disputing the outcome, right? Like, the normal process will go ahead, but you will live with Donald Trump running a shadow. Like, he will either run as a third party or he will spend all his time torching DeSantis, and he would cripple any of them as a general election candidate. But there's no mechanism by which he takes a nomination that he has lost.
I mean, then the optimistic case, right, is that, like, he cut some deal with them where they promised to pardon him and all that, but then they're carrying Trump's baggage, and there's just no clean way out of the deal.
Yeah.
I will say the final thing I'll say about that, I'll pull the one optimistic thing was that number was kind of low. The total number of people that are considering him at 63. His margin for error. Anyway, that's my positive spin. Like, 63 is. I would have thought it would have been higher than 63. I guess
we will close out with something really depressing. But before we get to that, we haven't talked about Trump's counter programming for Wednesday night. He is sitting down with Tucker. I guess they've already taped it. Unclear where this will air, whether it'll be on Twitter or Truth Social or 4chan. I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts about this?
I mean, I'm interested in seeing, like, the real polling is going to be the numbers between what the undercard debate polls and Tucker's Twitter. Like, if more people are watching Trump than a network broadcast, or even if it's, like, close, that will be a big win for him. It's also a little bit of a risk. Like, it's a little bit of a risk that, because Tucker's stuff hasn't been doing particularly well. And so if Trump can't counter program effectively, I'm not sure that like damages him so much, but it could be a storyline.
Were you guys surprised at this? Because I think it's a little low end. Yeah, I felt the same thing. Why not just hold his own rally and have all the other cable nets come and cover it? Do you guys understand that?
I would have done a rally in rural Wisconsin and just had like a massive crowd at a high school football field in rural Wisconsin and been like, this is where the action is. They're all boring down in Milwaukee or something. I don't know. It feels low energy. He's also got a lot on his plate, and he has to surrender again. He's got a lot of meetings with lawyers. He's got several court dates ahead of him. So maybe logistically might have created some challenges.
That's the pre-taped nature, right? I mean, everything about this feels a little weak to me. And again, if you want to be optimistic, it feels a little tired and a little like a guy who isn't able to move in for the kill here when he could really put everybody away. No?
Yeah, and is he going to be taped? The other thing about being taped, is he going to be live bleeding? during, or is he going to be watching him? You know what I mean? Like that also is a weird situation. It's going to be, I think, hard for him to resist live bleeding. Then he would betray that he's watching the debate rather than himself. I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing. He could have done a better job. So yeah, maybe that's the bull case, that he's losing his energy.
Yeah, I want to add to this that he is so far ahead, right? Which gives him some certain advantages, but he's starting to play not to lose a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And that may work for him. And this is what I mean by like a wholesale shift. Like, I think he's a little scared. You saw this the one time in Iowa where he was going to hold a rally and he pulled out because of the weather, and the weather ended up not being that bad. Where like you do get the sense he's a little worried and not enough people will show up for him to have it be the show of force, and so that he wants it to be optically. And as a result, he runs a little bit of the Joe Biden from his basement thing, which is like, I will tweet on Truth Social and stuff.
He's also going to get weighed in Georgia, and so, we might find out that he's extremely obese, and it might be hard for him to, like, get around. It does seem like he's spending a lot of time just mostly golfing and... Yeah.
He'll be on a rascal
to consider.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Well, this is a great way to close the show. We had a horrible hate crime over the weekend where we had a guy who marched up to a store in California, got very angry, started yelling some stuff about how much he hated the gays, ripped down a gay pride flag, and then went inside and shot the woman who owned the store and is the mother of 9. I don't know what to say, man. It's really, really bad, and the weirdness of the right to try to make it about something else is weird. Tim, do you want to just talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, I just felt like it was important to talk about. I mean, this woman, Lori Carlton, God love her, seems like she was obviously, like a mother of 9. I just the tributes to her that have come in have been very moving. I've spent some time reading them, and I sent out a tweet, a zeet, whatever we're calling it, the other day. It was just like, here's the link to her store, Magpie. There's a store that she had a pride flag up front of in California, and I didn't see a GoFundMe, so I was like, if you want to support her, maybe buy a wallet or something from the store, buy a shirt, and I received many replies from people that are like, this is the MSM narrative. It was actually her brother that killed her. It was an interpersonal dispute. Like, we're back to the Paul Pelosi thing. It was, in that case, it was the lover. Like, this wasn't a hate crime. This wasn't about politics. This wasn't domestic terrorism. And so I was like, who knows, right? Like, I wasn't there. So I was like, okay, I just read one story. I was like, let me read the stories closer. And I went and read the stories. It's like, no, there are witnesses. They saw the guy come up. They saw him make homophobic remarks, scream
and he's
at
dead,
her.
By the way, there's an important piece of context. He's now dead because he got into a shootout with the police.
Yeah, saw him pull the flag down. They saw him shoot her, and so, like, they knew what happened. We saw what happened, and then obviously now the police finally released his name earlier on Tuesday. And you go to his feed, and it's like the gay pride flag on fire, a lot of retweets of Dinesh D'Souza. He has a Gab account. He loves Matt Walsh, the transphobic Daily Wire person. So it's like, it's not subtle. It's happening. It's not hard to figure out. We don't need our best detectives on the case here to know what happened. And yet there is just this pathological need to, like, not accept that as true. Right, among people on the right, so they can continue to advance the hateful culture war shit. And so, we don't need to go around and around. We've done this show after Colorado Springs and after, all these other ones. But, like, we are at a very hot time right now. Like, the rhetoric is very hot, and we are an extremely well-armed nation. And, like, this shit is going to keep happening if neither of those two underlying problems are resolved, and nobody on the right seems interested in addressing either of them, and that is why you get into these situations where you have this conspiracy theory that props up, or people don't talk about it. right? Like you hear nothing or you hear a conspiracy theory. So anyway, I wrote an article debunking it. The other weird thing about it is that the conspiracy theory emanated from this website that, like, when you read it, it's like, this doesn't read like an English speaker. It doesn't really read like AI, but it also, it's kind of a strange thing just that they, like, where would it have been made up from, right? So was it, so it also is dystopian in the sense of, how do you untangle all that, right? Like, was this an AI account? Is this a nefarious actor? Is this just an idiot with a, you know, a
teenager in Macedonia looking for, right? Yeah. It's all terrible, and people should just be better to each other, I guess. I mean, I don't have anything else to say about it, except that it does strike me that things could get a lot worse.
Yeah,
before they get better.
The only thing I'll say is just on the responsibility of politicians. It used to be that politicians had a sense of being there to tamp down the crazy and their supporters, right? They didn't want their people flying off the handle. They get lots of mail. They know they got a lot of people who are not right. And there used to be this just sense of decency of, like, it is my responsibility as the person with the megaphone to make sure that I'm constantly counseling forbearance or just, lowering the temperature. And these guys have no interest in lowering the temperature. Everything they do is an attempt to raise the temperature, which I think is flagrantly irresponsible and really does just speak to the depths of, we're dealing with a new breed of politician who does not care about the temperature.
And I think on the gay stuff, this is obviously on trans. There are specific issues that are, being fought about and litigated, argued about. But you do now see this pivot in right-wing spaces, like, where it isn't really about policy. Actually, it is about the whole nature of being prideful and being so open about this, and that is wrong, and that our culture needs to reverse to more of a trad culture, right? And it's not like, oh, I have a specific list of policy proposals, but it's like it is speaking about how, the cultural acceptance and promotion and pridefulness around gay and trans rights issues is the problem in itself. And when that happens, right, I just think that is uniquely more dangerous to the listener, right? Because if you're a person that can go off the handle, you're like, I can resolve this actually in my community by giving people that are being too prideful to what for, right? If the issue is in the policy space, you feel like, okay, well, maybe I'll just support my candidate and hopefully we'll, whatever, reform gay marriage laws or whatever. But like that's another thing that is a difference and that is getting increasingly hot in conservative media world.
A reminder: this is an off year. We're not even at the actual fever pitch of an election. Great. I'm sure it's all going to be fine. All right, good show, long show, an interminable show. Special thank you to Sebastian for saving this show because we had technical problems throughout. Sarah, it was good to see you. Tim, it was good to see you. Enjoy the debate, everybody. I will be doing live react without either of you on Wednesday night. Tonight, I will be live on the YouTube machine. And then I will be doing another Thursday night Bulwark on Thursday night after this. I'm doing all of the things. So come and hang out. And
tonight, TBD. We'll see what happens. What's happening on my terrestrial cable with my terrestrial cable obligations?
Because I believe I have me and Tom Nichols Wednesday night at 11 p.m. Ooh, talking a little debate reaction.
My boy Tommy.
So, guys, take care. Be nice to each other out there. Bye.
Bye.